live Attorney General nominee William Barr confirmation hearing, and it's Golden State Times that have done this videoing. So here's William Barr. My name is Catania Alvin from London.
Well, if the federal government says to a university, look, if you do not prosecute, investigate, punish allegations of sexual assault in a way that the federal government says you must, otherwise we're going to take away your federal money, does the accused in one of those sexual assault allegations still have the protection of the Bill of Rights?
I would hope so.
Should he or her?
I'd have to look and see exactly the state actor law right now, but what you're getting at is, the rules that were forced on universities in handling sexual harassment cases.
Right.
That I felt essentially did away with due process.
Yes.
And I think the victim, as a father of three daughters, I take very seriously any question of sexual harassment. It's a serious problem. The word of a victim has to be taken very seriously, and it has to be pursued. But we can't do it at the expense of the Bill of Rights or basic fairness and due process.
Both the accused and the accuser deserve due process, do they not?
That's right.
Tell me what the legal basis is for a universal injunction.
I think universal injunctions have no. Well, let me say that they are a recent vintage. They really started arising in the 60s, and I think that they have lost sight of a limitation on the judicial power of the United States, which is case or controversy.
It's all based on the D.C. Circuit case. The Words case, is that right?
I forgot the name of the case, but I think the D.C. Circuit case was the first one. I think that was in the 60s, and people have lost sight of the fact that it's really a question of who gets the relief in a case, and under the case or controversy, it should be limited to the parties. And when earlier you could have a court in one jurisdiction decide it, and that would be the rule in that jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. But that didn't debar the government from continuing its policies elsewhere, and eventually you'd get differences, and they would work their way up to the Supreme Court. So I think that I'd like to see these universal injunctions challenged.
Well, I don't know how many federal district court judges we have. Let's say 650. As I understand it, one can enjoin a congressional statute nationwide, even if the other 624 judges disagree.
That's right. And not just a statute, Senator. I think what's different, what we're seeing is the willingness of courts to set aside, even the kinds of exercises of national security power that, 20 years ago would have been unimaginable for a court to challenge. And yet a district court judge somewhere can enjoin some action that has a bearing on the safety of the nation, and then the judicial process can take years and years to get that up to the Supreme Court.
I've just got a few seconds left. As I understand your testimony, General, Mr. Mueller will write a report, submit it to you as Attorney General, and then you will write a report based on that report and release your report. Is that right?
That's essentially it, but I wouldn't assume, it could easily be that the report is communicated to the department before, assuming I was confirmed. That could be a month away.
Well, let me tell you what I'm getting at. I've got 6 seconds, now 4. The American people deserve to know what the Department of Justice has concluded. And they're smart enough to figure it out. I've said this before. The American people don't read Aristotle every day. They're too busy earning a living. But if you give them the facts, they'll figure it out, and they'll draw their own conclusions. Doesn't matter who spins them. They'll figure it out for themselves. And I would strongly encourage you to put this all to rest, to make a report, a final report, public, to let everybody draw their own conclusions so we can move on. If somebody did something wrong, they should be punished. But if they didn't, let's stop the innuendo and the rumors and the leaking, and let's move on.
I agree, Senator. And let me say, earlier I misspoke because the acting Attorney General is Matt Whitaker, and I referred to Rod as the acting Attorney General, but in fact, the report would go to Matt Whitaker.
Right, I'm going to stop it there and going to take you somewhere else. Right, I've now got Dave Janda up. Trump's hammer time for Obama, Brennan and Clapper. And he's actually got, I haven't listened to the whole of it, but in his description box, and I'll put his link in my description box and then go into his, and you will see an interview he did with this man he's talking about. But this follows on so well.
My show Operation Freedom as well, who confirmed this. Montgomery came to him, and Larry Klayman took Montgomery to the FBI. This is while Comey was directing. And under oath and under deposition, he presented, I believe, 4 hard drives that comprise of hundreds of thousands of documents supporting what he had been hired to do by Obama, Brennan, and Clapper, and what information he obtained. There's a huge amount of information. He went under oath and testified to the FBI. Now remember, Comey at one point, and Comey was made aware of Dennis Montgomery testifying and what he said and what he presented. Comey, subsequently to that, to being the United States, let alone Trump, Flynn, Trump team, millions of Americans. Right then and there, James Comey is guilty of perjury.
Right, now I just want to bring into the point of Sybil Edmonds, on one of the interviews, I think it was on the James Corbett show, talked about a friend of hers who was actually, and I believe it was during the Obama, in quotes, reign, and he had to check out judges. Now, just listen to this. And what was amazing to her is that the judges that were clean were not used. Only those that had some skeletons in the cupboard were used.
This system was used to try to get information on Trump and his team, and it was also used to get leverage on individuals, such as who? As I mentioned, judges, such as who? Dennis Montgomery testified information was targeted to get on Roberts, Chief Justice Supreme Court. So maybe it makes sense why Roberts somehow flipped his Obamacare vote. You think that had? And also, the judge in charge of the FISA court, Walton. Oh, you mean the FISA court, the same court that granted the surveillance grants on Page and, Carter Page, Flynn, Manafort, Papadopoulos. You mean the FISA court that relied on the fake Russian dossier that was funded by Hillary Clinton, the Clinton campaign, and the DNC. So maybe it makes sense now why some of those judges supposedly didn't even question this document, because maybe the judges were told, hey, so judge, you're questioning about this document. Well, we got some questions about you.
Exactly.
I think that maybe shut the judges up.
Which of course ties into Sybil Edmonds' friend, who realized that they were only hiring judges that had muck attached to them.
Of why they allowed a fake Russian dossier that was not sourced to be the hallmark piece of evidence that was utilized to surveil Trump and his team. Well, many people are going to say it's conspiracy theory that these judges were in fact monitored through this system.
I don't think it's theory.
Okay. Big league politics. Evidence. Brennan and Clapper hacked FISA court judge Reggie Walt. Comey covered it up. Evidence is now circulating among lawmakers in Washington that makes the case that the Obama administration intelligence officials John Brennan and James Clapper hacked FISA court judge Reggie Walt, in addition to Supreme Court Justice John Roberts. Now remember, John Roberts is not only
I'm going to leave it there because I'm going to have to cut this down. I think he's an extremely honest and well-informed individual. Do go in and look at the information in the description box. And thank you everyone for all the subscribes and the likes and the shares. I really do appreciate it. It's really taken off over this last 6 days. God bless you all. This is Katanya Alvin signing out and making my way to bed now. God bless.